Call me in order. Thank you. First, I need a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 7-0. Now we'll do the oath of the office then? Okay. Mr. Schmidt, you want to join me down here? Thank you. Supposed to do this, and you'll stand here.
Just ask
Stand here.
the chief.
Welcome aboard. Raise your right hand.
Somebody's speaking to.
State I, then your name.
I, Matthew R. Schmitz,
Do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Iowa,
and the Constitution of the State of Iowa,
and I will faithfully and impartially, to the best of my ability,
and that I will faithfully and impartially, to the best of my ability,
discharge all duties of the position of city manager in the City of Independence as now and hereinafter required by law.
discharge all duties of the position of city manager in the City of Independence as now and or hereinafter required by law.
Thank you very much. Congratulations.
You want this? Yeah. A sticky note that says Matt reads this one? One more. Thank you. All right, thanks. Thank you very much.
Welcome, Matt.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Where's yours? I can take calls. I wouldn't mind it.
Now can I do the consent agenda?
No public comment.
Okay. I just want to get through it. All right, so public comments. So is there anybody, you have any cards from anybody?
Nope.
Dave, anything back there? Okay, thanks. Since there is none, then we move to the consent agenda, which I've been so happy to get to it, so. Need a motion to accept and approve the consent agenda that approves the following: the minutes of the January 9, 2023 regular meeting, the Rivers Edge Sport and Fitness Special Class C Retail Alcohol License Renewal effective February 2nd, 2023 through February 1st, 2024, and the Quick Star number 717 liquor license ownership and amendment.
So moved.
Second. I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 7-0. Next, we move to the approval of claims. First, I need a motion to approve the claims for payment.
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, then?
Aye.
Opposed? That
Can I
pa-
ask 2 questions about those?
Absolutely. Go ahead, Deb.
The North and escrow for City Hall, $187,030. What was that all for?
That is for Cornerstone doing the facade projects.
That's all just for the outside building then?
Yes, for the
Okay,
downtown
and how about
facade.
the
That's the
diligent
downtown.
dues?
Sorry, Deb, go ahead.
How about the diligent dues for City Hall, 3,000?
That's for board docs, the agenda
Okay, thank
software.
you. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Deb. Okay, moving on then to the budgeted and monthly transfer items. Does anybody have any questions, any discussion with regard to the budgeted and monthly transfer items? Okay, hearing none, we'll move to item C, which is the revenues and expenses to date. Any discussion or questions with regard to the financials, the revenues and expenses to date? Hearing none, we'll move to the petitions from the public. We'll start with item A, which is the bow hunting request. Can't turn my page here. So first, I need a motion to allow C. Cooksley's request to bow hunt in the designated area within Independence for the 2023 to 2024 bow hunting season. So first, I need the motion.
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion with regard to that?
One question, did we get an approval in writing from his grandmother?
He's coming up, Deb.
Thank you.
Everyone hear me? Can Deb hear me?
She can.
Okay, this is Curtis Cooksley, and I'm the person that requested this permission. I talked to her, but I did not get a written letter. If a written letter to be approved for you guys is what I need to get, then it's not a problem. I can submit it for next meeting.
In talking to her, does you have any reason to believe that she wouldn't sign it?
Not at all. I've talked to her multiple times about it.
Might I suggest that we, if we're going to vote to approve this, that we do it with the understanding that he'll provide the letter from his contingent upon.
Contingent on it.
Okay? So then this is a roll call vote on this then? You have something else, Brian? Is this a roll call vote on this?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Houston,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Brusader,
Yes.
O'Laughlin,
Yes.
Jensen,
Yes.
Callahan.
Yes.
Passes 7-0. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move then to item 5 on the agenda, which is hearings and ordinances. First, we have to set a public hearing related to the Independence, the COVID Downtown Revitalization Project. So as you may recall, that we've got two sections of our revitalization program. The first one we're calling the COVID one because it started during COVID. So first, I need a motion to set a public hearing for on February the 13th of 2023, 5 o'clock PM, on the status of the funded activities for the Independence COVID Downtown Revitalization Project.
So move.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. This is part of the grant process, and we're required to set public hearings to talk about the status and the funding. So that's the purpose of this motion at this time.
This isn't a motion to create more funds. This
It is not.
something to-
Just an
Just
update
set
of the
public-
I had
project.
somebody call it, they wondered what,
Yeah, no, this is just an update on the project itself, and depending upon the status of the project, we're allowed to release certain funds, and they want certain funds released based upon the status of the project, and that's why we'll do it in the public hearing coming up on February the 13th. Okay, again, this is a roll call vote?
No.
Oh, it's not, I'm sorry.
All in favor?
All in favor, then?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Passes 7-0. Item B under hearings and ordinances to set a public hearing for the Downtown Independence Revitalization Project. This is the same, except this is the other phase. So this is not the COVID phase, this is the other phase. Again, I need a motion to set the public hearing February 13th, 2023.
So moved. Second.
Okay? I'm going to go fast anyway, Dick.
Let's see.
All in favor, then?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Passes 7-0. Next, we'll move to item C, which is to set the max levy public hearing. This is not a discussion itself among council. This is merely the setting of the actual hearing itself. So I need a motion to set February 13th, 2023, 5 o'clock PM as the public hearing on the maximum property tax dollars, and authorize the city clerk to publish the maximum levy hearing notice.
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second. This would be a roll call vote then.
Hannah,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Brusader,
Yes.
O'Laughlin,
yes,
Jensen,
Yes.
Callahan.
Yes.
Houston.
Yes.
Next, we move to item 6 on the agenda, which is the perpetual easement. This is the time that we're set for the public hearing, so I'm going to, pursuant to the agenda, I'm going to convene a public hearing for the purpose of granting a perpetual easement. This easement deals with a dock on the Wapsie, and we have had this through through the city attorney. We have an agreement as to the easement itself. Council has discussed this in the past, but just for the sake of clarification, so anybody has any questions, this is a piece of property that's across the street from the Nielsen home. They're in the process of selling that. Down on the other side of the street, down the hill, there's a dock that's been there for 30 or 40 years probably that the Nielsens have operated or used. And as part of the sale, they want to make sure that the new buyer can also have the opportunity to use that. So we looked at this in a number of different ways with the city attorney. We talked about renting the property, we talked about a purchase of a portion of the property, and we decided that an easement was the best alternative for us. So the easement is going to be, they'll pay us the sum of $500 for the easement itself. They will provide liability insurance to the city in the amount of 500 combined single limit, 500,000 combined single limit. They will sign an agreement that they will hold harmless and indemnify the city from any acts or accidents that might take place on the property or on the dock. They will take the dock itself and have it registered with the DRI. It's not DRI.
DNR.
DNR, sorry. DRI is something that I belong to in California. I think that covers it. So
Is this transferable form for when they,
this is a perpetual easement, so it would be continuous with, and we also looked at utilities to make sure that there were no utilities that would be involved at all. I think we've covered all the bases that we can possibly cover, so I don't know that we have anything, Betty, that wishes to speak with regard to this as part of the public hearing portion.
I did not receive anything about it, so.
Okay, so then I will now close the public hearing, and the city clerk shall note the comments for the record which do not exist.
I have one question, one comment.
Absolutely, Deb.
Did anyone look at the history and that was not allowed 20 years ago? And they put the dock, repaired the dock anyway?
I do not know anything about the history, and I don't know that we did any research into the history itself. We do know that at some point in time, they did build it. Whether they had permission or not, I don't know the answer to it, but I don't think it's really relevant to whether or not we grant an easement going forward, because it exists there already, and the problem is that if somebody were to be injured on it at this point in time without any protection to the city, because it's on city land, the city could be sued for that. So we're trying to protect the city as well as accommodate the new buyer of the property.
So if they fall next to that land, the city could be sued anyway, right?
I'm sorry?
If they fell next to that piece of property.
Oh, yeah.
On the riverbank.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I don't see the difference between that part of it.
Okay, well, let's move to the actual resolution itself, which is item B, So first, I need a motion to approve the resolution that approves the easement agreement that's been negotiated between the city attorney and counsel for Nielsen.
So moved.
second?
Okay, so I have a motion and a second. Further discussion now. Go ahead, Deb. Did you have further discussion that you want to talk about it then?
No, just what I said already.
Okay. Anybody else have anything with regard to this issue at all?
Yes, I do. What is that going to do as far as the city with other docks that are out there, or people want to build docks in front?
Sure.
What type of situation are we putting the city into?
Everyone would be on a case-by-case basis. The way that the city and the river currently is set up, the boundary lines are all over the place. I mean, some of them, the boundary line comes to the
Middle of the river.
comes to the middle of the river, some of it comes to the end of the river, some of it is at the top of the hill, like what we have in this situation here. So if anybody's interested in a dock on their property, adjoining their property, they would just have to come to council, and we would evaluate it just the same way that we did this one here.
The city owns how much of that land along the river edge?
In this particular case, the city owns from the street all the way down to the river, which is why we're granting the easement, so that he has access to come across the city property to get to the dock itself. So that's why we're granting the easement, because it's a right-of-way to get down to the dock.
To my understanding, though, that dock's been there for a long time.
That dock's been there 30, 40 years.
So why was this not addressed a long time ago?
That I cannot answer.
I think the reason it's coming up now is that the house is for sale. The gentleman that
So-
owns it is not able to.
Okay, so
live
the
there.
house is going to come up for sale.
It is. up
It is for sale.
It is up for sale.
And they have a buyer, and the
They
buyer
have a
will...
buyer, and so if you allow an easement on there, you also are increasing the value of that land because the party has total access to it.
Right, but they're paying for the easement, and they're paying the insurance, and they're providing the hold harmless, and they're doing all the things to protect the city. If we just left it as it was, and have a new buyer come in there that wasn't involved in the actual building of the deck, How do we know that he's going to maintain the deck? We have nothing in writing in terms of maintaining the deck. We have nothing in writing to protect the city if someone's injured on the deck. We have nothing to require them to be able to have it registered. We don't have anything at all other than it just exists there. But the whole idea here involving the city attorney was to make sure that we protected the city as best as we possibly could, and we think that this is the best way to do it.
Okay, so in regards to talking about the deck,
Doc,
or
Dock.
the dock,
I'm with you.
does the dock technically belong to the city right now then?
No,
No.
Who does it belong to?
the individual that's selling the house across the street. And
He-
then the
he's-
dock will be their liability through registration of the Department of Natural Resources, and it will be tied up on the shore right there.
Okay, but where,
It's a concrete,
who technically is responsible for the dock right now?
The owner of the property.
The owner of the property?
Yes.
Even though it's not registered?
That's right. That's right.
And the dock should have been registered a couple of years ago, but if the decision was made not to register it, that's, but DNR put that into effect, I think, 2 years ago, if not 3.
Okay?
Any further discussion? Call for the vote then.
Moore,
No.
Versater,
Yes.
O'Laughlin,
yes,
Jensen,
Yes.
Callahan.
Yes.
Houston,
Yes.
Hannah.
No,
Passes 5-2. Now move to other business. I'm sorry, did I miss something? Okay. Have the engineers report. Brian, welcome.
Evening, everybody.
Evening.
3 project updates for you tonight. The 12th Street Northeast Storm Sewer Improvement Project, that notice to bidders is scheduled to go out on Wednesday of this week. We've already had 3 contractors contact us even before the notifications went out, so that's a good sign in my mind, yeah. We're scheduled to take bids on that on February 9th, and you guys will consider those bids, or we're scheduled to consider those bids on your regularly scheduled meeting February 13th. So that's 12th Street, Northeast Storm Sewer Improvements. Progress continues on the west area storm sewer mapping and drainage study. We're on schedule to have a report with our findings and some recommendations for you. That'll probably be sometime in March.
Okay.
On the 3rd, work is also underway on the 2023 street rehabilitation project. We've targeted March 23rd as a date to take bids on that project, with council potentially considering those bids on your meeting on the 27th of March. So we'll have some council action items between now and March related to that project. So those will be in February.
So Brian, will we be, I know that we had a meeting at Committee of the Whole where we talked about the specifics of the 5-year plan.
Yes.
So we're talking about year 1 now, and
Correct.
how many different blocks are we talking about for year?
Talking about 7 blocks for this first project, and that fit into the budget that I discussed with Susie earlier this year.
Okay. Any other questions for Brian?
All right?
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
Thanks, Brian.
Okay, next we move to item B, which is the MSA Professional Services Agreement. So we can have a discussion of this. First, I need a motion to approve the updated Professional Services Agreement with MSA.
So moved.
Go ahead. So I have a motion and a second discussion on this. This is supposed to be an updated service agreement with MSA to complete updates, add-ons to our current mapping system at the city's request. There is no upfront cost, it's just a rate structure, should we request any work from them. Mike, did you have something on
yeah,
that?
this is, first of all, it's not a continuation because the contract was set forth, they completed the contract, so their services with the city are done. This is basically a request for more. In addition to that, some of the items that we got in June, it was in the request for services, were supposed to be done, like staff training to collect assets, update asset measurement, and notate other fields as needed for what the city wants. And that training was all supposed to be done by the company that we contracted in June, so that the city employees could take it over, print the maps out, you know, because we have proprietary use of the software since they did the work.
Absolutely.
So I'd like to table this until we can have another discussion at the committee of the whole.
Okay. I think that's a good idea. So first I need a second to your motion.
Second.
Okay, so this is a motion to table the MSA Professional Services Agreement consideration tonight, so that would still be a roll call?
I think we can just do consent.
I think it's a consent as well, thank you. So all in favor of tabling this to be, for further discussion at the Committee of the Whole meeting on February the 5th, 7th?
6th.
6th? Say aye.
Aye.
No,
Anybody opposed? Passes 7-0. That's to be put on the agenda for the next Committee of the Whole meeting. Next, we'll move to item C, which is the approval of the Police Academy reimbursement agreement. First, I need a motion to approve a Police Academy reimbursement agreement for the hiring of new certified police officer.
So move.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Dave, do you have some discussion on this for us?
What you'll see here is the reimbursement amount to the city of Jessup. If we were to send an officer through the academy, it would cost us this much or more, plus the amount of time that we would have there, considering that you can't get an officer into the academy just because you hire them on a date, doesn't mean they'll be in immediately. So we're actually looking at probably like a 3 to 4 month savings on that portion. And so it's pretty standard. The one thing I did with this, though, is we do have a hiring bonus of $5,000 for certified officers, but that is being paid as a part of this as well. So you won't see a $5,000 reimbursement for that officer coming up once they've hit the year mark, because we're already paying this amount out, so I'm not about to pay that $5,000 certified officer. That would be if a guy comes to me and has zero contract, or if he had $3,000 left on a year contract at the end, we'd tell him, I'll give you the 5, you pay it either way. So,
And this
Thank you
is,
for clarification on
is
this.
this for Officer Graves then? Is that what?
yes, it's for Officer Graves, who will be sworn in on Wednesday.
Right, 1 o'clock, right?
Yep. And one of the other things I did was, we actually gave him the conditional offer back in November, well, it'd be actually in, November. But we've held off. 2 reasons. It's harder than heck for me to get uniforms for anybody, a bulletproof vest for him. So we've held off. But what that's also done is it's allowed me to save some of that money out of my budget that we're not paying for Officer Flack right now under my salary line item. So in the end of the year, I'll be able to balance out a little bit better then. So was it an unexpected, unplanned event? Yes, but I'm working on that in my budget as we speak anyway.
Thank you, Dave. Anybody have any questions for Dave?
Is that 5,000, is that going directly to Jessup then?
Yeah,
To help offset, the money's not gonna go through his hands?
No.
It's gonna be directly
No,
to Jessup?
we're paying Jessup right now. The contract is $16,000 no matter how it works out. But I just advised the officer, and we put in this contract, that the monies that he would be paid after a year of $5,000 for being a certified officer are gonna be paid as a part of this. So in essence, if you take it that way, the buyout of the contract for us is at 11 and
11 and
change, whatever
change.
we're at, you bet. But to do both, I think, would be fiscally irresponsible at this point for us.
Correct.
Further questions for Dave?
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's a roll call.
Olaf,
Go ahead.
O'Laughlin.
Yes.
Jensen.
Yes.
Callahan.
Yes.
Houston.
Yes.
Hannah.
yes,
Moore.
Yes.
Brusader.
Yes.
Passes 7-0. Next, we move to item D, which is the 2022 Annual Fire Report. Has everybody had a chance to review that? Do you have questions for Blake? We can have Blake come up and answer any questions he might have with regard to it, if he wants to. But anybody have any questions for him?
The only question I have, Blake, is it's nice to see that the four-wheeler that was invested, the off-road, has actually had its opportunity to show its worth.
Yep. Yeah, it's been a very valuable tool in the short time that we've had it, so
Because I believe it's been used like 4 times already.
4 or 5, I think. Yep. So,
That, to me, that was a needed item for a rural area like this, because you deal with too much off-road where trucks can't get to, so.
right. Yep.
And that was actually
Donation.
donations as opposed to, or
Right, the
gifts.
association bought that, not taxpayers, so
Right.
That's better yet.
even, yep. Do you have something, Mike?
I was impressed by the amount of, I don't think people in town realize how much donation you guys get. I'd like to see if we could pass this on to John and Steve and maybe put a short article in the paper to,
Yep,
for people to realize how much these people give.
yep,
There's a lot of time and dedication involved
There
based
is.
on all these hours.
yep.
Tremendous.
And some of the stuff, some of the elevated numbers are the ones that went through firefighter one, that they have to do that, as part of their curriculum. But the state has 24 hours minimum, and you can see that everybody's above that, so that there's a lot of dedication there, so
Yeah.
very proud.
That's what you do.
You bet.
Thank you, Blake,
You
appreciate it.
bet.
Next, we'll move to reports, start with council members. Catherine, do you want to go first? You have anything?
The only thing I have is to remind those who are on the visioning committee that we have that meeting this Thursday,
Right.
5 o'clock here.
Right.
And then if anybody would like to go over to the Mexican restaurant, that's fine. Anybody
Anybody can eat Mexican?
can eat.
Thanks, Catherine. Mike?
Nothing right now.
Brian?
I have a couple of things that I wanted to say. One, I want to just, broad statement is thank you to all emergency. I know everybody's had a busy week, it seems like, between fire, police, and then also I wanted to point out our street department, I thought did an exemplary job with the snow that we got here that I don't know that anybody was expecting, or I was awful surprised when I got up in the morning to see that we had as much as we did. And I thought those guys really moved quick and did a good job getting everything cleaned up again. So I wanted to tell them thank you. The only other thing that I wanted to bring up is, as we talked, and I couldn't remember if it was council meeting or if it was the meeting of the whole, in regards to parking spaces in the city lots that we have on Main Street behind, with the residences going up top, and then making sure that we're balancing our parking spots for patrons, for the businesses as well, just making sure that gets.
Yeah, we want that on the committee of the whole.
Yes.
I think it's coming up on the 7th. Did we put that on already, Suzie, or we did?
I know
6th,
we
not
discussed
6th,
it. I
I'm
just want to
sorry.
make sure if it hadn't been, that we get that put on there.
We will, absolutely.
Cool.
Ralph, did you have something?
In regards to what you just said, after the last 2 snowstorms, I stopped by the street department and thanked them personally on the great job that they were doing. If you don't get out of town much, but you go to some of these other towns, their streets don't look near the quality that we have here in Independence. So my kudos to them. The other thing coming up is with Waste Management, we're going to be meeting with them, I think, the first part of next month.
Yep.
And I called and talked to, is it Corey, the district manager?
I'm not sure.
Corey's the driver's manager.
The driver's manager. Okay, I spoke with Corey in regards to, the comments that we all hear about garbage and everything, and I said, Corey, I really think you should take and, with all the complaints we get, you guys are doing a fantastic job as far as I'm concerned, due to many different things. And 1 is short on help, 2 is truck breakdowns, and 3 is, the drivers can only do X amount of hours per day, according to DOT, and I believe it's 9.5, and they also are limited on how many hours they can do for an entire week. So therefore, when you're short on help and you're also having trucks breaking down, they have 3 trucks right now that are down due to electronical problems. Well, they might be up by now, but they were still all down the other day. But a comment that I asked him is, some of the people talk about, recycle, it seems to be the biggie, on they didn't get picked up, but yet next door neighbors get picked up and everything. And I, asked him if he would, has he contacted you guys yet?
What?
On paper?
We have them coming in.
Yeah.
They'll be here at our meeting on the 6th, and they'll be answering questions, and
Yeah, but he is totally in favor. And then something else to think about, while I was speaking to him, he mentioned that they need to get more involved with the city of Independence, and they were wondering if there was any sponsorships that they can do and help contribute to show the citizens that they want to be part of the town. And I talked about our ballpark situation, the renovation on that, and he said, I'm gonna get with my upper people and see what type of, funds we can help in supporting city activities.
yeah, that's a wonderful idea. Thank you for following up on that.
Not a problem.
Deb, do you have something?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Nothing for you?
Oh,
Oh,
Mr. Tom?
I thought you'd say all is well.
All is well.
All is well.
Awesome, Tom.
Huh?
That's so awesome.
Good for you, Tom.
I have nothing.
I just have a couple of things. Number one is Dave and I attended the meeting last Monday for the the first contractors meeting at the new police station. And they've started work, and the demolition itself has been completed, or is very close to have been completed. You went yesterday?
I can come up and address this if you like. I went up today, in fact, for a meeting with project managers. Demolition is, for the most part, 100% complete.
Right.
Wow.
All of the wallpaper has been removed. We went up, there was a couple little things like an outside spigot had to be accounted for on the inside, so they've redone that. I know the shutoff valve for the water was bad. It had never been turned in the years of that place, so we're going to have to do something with that. And so they are moving along rather quickly, and they're actually very happy with everything, how it's been going, because they get their help that can't leave Independence or whatever for the day, so they're putting people in there. But I went up today, had the meeting with project manager, and it's coming along really, really well. So we should be good to go.
They had some of the framing lumber that was outside the back door, so they're going to start the pony walls and some of the other walls this week. That'll be the
Yeah, and they'd actually started on some of that already, but not quite to the extent that we'll probably see within the next couple weeks.
okay.
So yeah, it's come along real well.
I'll join you next Monday when we meet on that.
Sounds good. And then I'll come back after.
Yeah, and-
One other thing.
And when I talked to you about that earlier today, about out there, one thing I forgot to tell you is I was a window peeper. Sunday, I stopped and walked around the building and peeked in all the windows, and I could see a lot of stuff had been accomplished already.
Yeah, they're doing a great job.
It's fantastic, the progress they're doing.
Yep, and just as a reminder, I told all my people this, they are a closed construction site, and due to safety, they're keeping everybody out of there. I have to wear a hard hat and safety glasses and vest to get in there, so just be advised, if you wander around there and ask to go in, they're probably going to deny you. It's not to keep you out for any other reason other than safety at this point, so just to let you know. But
Thank you, Dave.
Thanks, Dave.
Second item I have, last meeting, we talked about the possibility of looking at the insurance. I did have a conversation with the insurance broker. There's a substantial amount of money that we're going to be able to save. The new, our policy renews April 1st, but they should have their updated quotes out by February 1. We've got a couple of areas that we're looking at that are significant. One is that all of our vehicles that we have, we've got numbers on there for the actual cash value that are quite a few years old, and they haven't been updated. So they use the Kelley Blue Book and the NADA books, and what we want to do is we want to look at each of the vehicles individually, compare them to the values in the book, because if we're over-insuring those vehicles, then we're paying extra premium we don't need to. The other thing is, if we've got vehicles there that are older vehicles that don't have a good value, there's no sense in carrying collision and comprehensive coverage on those, so we would take that off and only carry liability on those. We looked at the increase in deductible, and he'll be able to give me numbers in terms of that. The other issue is the buildings themselves. The buildings themselves are based upon the square footage of the buildings and a cost per foot for building itself. So we're going to look at those numbers as well. Our $1,000 deductible that we currently have is way too low. So we're going to look at a $2,500, a $5,000, and a $10,000. Not that I'm advocating that we go to $10,000 right out of the gate, but I want to see what the difference in premium savings on it is, because it's a risk evaluation thing, and we'll talk about that more once we know more about it. Third thing is the AMR update. AMR is our ambulance service. I attended a meeting with the county, BCHC, and AMR. They gave us their quarterly data. In October, November, December, they had 176 calls in Independence itself, 43 calls in the rural area. They responded to, they responded to 107 of those. That doesn't sound right. That's the rural, I'm sorry. I don't remember what the response was, but the response time itself looks like it's about approximately 4 minutes from dispatch, so that's very good. We also looked at transfers from BCHC, and there were 104 calls, of which they responded to 96. So that means that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. The numbers from Jessup, in terms of them helping out, in October, there were 2 times that they came. In November, there were 3, and in December, there were 5. So it's, the hospital itself seemed like they were pretty satisfied with what was going on at the present time, and we'll meet with them again on a regular quarterly basis.
I would think we're paying for AMR though, community our size and the amount of money, I would think 2 crews would be sufficient unless there was a major disaster.
They seem to think that they've got 2 crews the majority of the time at the present time. I don't know how true that is, but they seem to say that they think they've got that. I don't remember the number of EMTs and paras that they had was significantly greater than what they had the prior quarter. I don't remember what the numbers were, but I think they currently have 12 EMTs that they have the ability to use. They've also entered into some arrangements with some of the people from some of the other ambulance services in the area. So if they've got a rural one in Jessup, they've got somebody from Jessup that's that they will pay on call for it, so they don't need to come to, necessarily to come to us or do something else on it. And they're very excited about the fact that we might be having our status for
EMS.
Fire.
our first responder status, sorry.
With fire.
Our first responder status, so that they understand that the purpose of our first responder status is to give service to our residents in Independence and to be able to provide care for them until the ambulance arrives. Once the ambulance arrives, they would, of course, take over. But we want to make sure that there's not a situation where our fire department people are on scene and they can't do anything about it because they're not allowed to treat. So that's something that we've looked at as far as that goes. I think that's it. Right,
That 4-minute response time is very good.
right.
In that meeting that you were in, Brad, did we have any representation from either the police department or the fire department that actually works with them or coincides with them on calls, just to corroborate their information as far as, in agreement or disagreement, how much other involvement we have?
No, the answer is no.
Okay. I'm just curious.
The committee that for the ambulance service that we have consists of a representative from the county, a representative from the hospital, and a representative from the city, which is the mayor. So that's how the committee's set up, and I'll report back to you, and if there's things that we need, we can certainly provide the information. And Blake, they did want to schedule a meeting with you once we get further into the first responder status, because they'd like to have some type of a memorandum of understanding in terms of what you're going to provide, what you're not going to provide, et cetera. So I told them that once we got to that point where we have the status or close to having the status, that we'll set up some type of a meeting with them and talk to them at that point.
Cool, thank you, Mayor.
Anything else from anybody else? Dave?
After your question last time, Tom, we had another snow emergency. Just to let the council know how we ran the snow emergency, I talked with Brad Esch. We talked about what time they were going to come out, which was 2 or 3 in the morning. We put the snow removal out to all the news agencies, just like we did last time, gave them plenty of notice, and I think we got that out at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We had it starting at 8. We didn't write tickets until the plows had been around, and our ticket count this time was about a quarter of what it was last time. We changed nothing other than the fact people had gotten used to it again. I think it's one of them things they go in the ditches all the time when it snows the first time. They forget to put their car in, but we had a lot better response this time, so we were about a quarter of the tickets that we did last time. So a good response from our citizens and a great job by our street department. But
And you guys do, communication.
Yep, I just want to let you know, but yeah, and we changed nothing on how we communicated, the hours that we gave. I always try and set it early enough because I want the guy who's working second shift to be able to get home and get his car off the street type thing, or gal. So we changed nothing. We did it exactly the same, but the numbers are down, so it shows the message is continuing to get out.
College kids went back to college, too.
We did have a couple people show up and pay those tickets for their kids, but they were fairly nice when they came to the window, and we appreciated them.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
Okay, if there's nothing else, can I have a motion to adjourn then? I'm
Are
sorry.
we going to have another budget workshop next week, next
No,
Monday?
not on January 30th. I'll have a budget update at the February 6th committee of the whole meeting.
Okay.
And we did meet and talk about budget this morning at the department head meeting as well. So we're very close to the numbers that we need. Okay. Need a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Adjourn. Thank you all.
Thank you. Catherine, you said that meeting is this Thursday?